uniqueness and living out your uniqueness. It's a very interesting conversation. In today's world, because of instant communication and all of the ways we communicate, everybody's comparing themselves to everybody else. And it's not working. Anybody agree? And I look at what's happening in our society and the culture and how we are not satisfied because we're not good enough. And we keep measuring ourselves about everybody around us except ourselves. So it's very, very interesting. Each of us is a divine being. And in the book, I've got it here. I'm very glad, B, by the way, with your class, I'm really excited you're doing this book. This book is a grounding idea in the metaphysical interpretations that we're bringing in here. And it was done by Eric Butterworth. And in it, there's all kinds of different ideas. The main thing to address is where we are, where we want to be. And I've had the opportunity in counseling in the last few weeks to do some work with people that are so upset because of what they've done or haven't done. Anybody familiar with that? Yeah. In other words, I keep looking at what's wrong. And I keep looking at what's wrong, and I keep looking at what's wrong. And when we keep rehearsing what's wrong, what do we keep creating more of? What's wrong? What's wrong? So it's an endless thing. And then we feel guilty because we're told to think positive. Okay? The problem is thoughts create, and we're not aware of that, and the world has actually taught us to compare ourselves against others, and we're always going to fall short because other people are working their gifts and we're not working our gifts, if that makes sense. So that's part of my conversation this morning. And I would like to read a portion of this book. And this is actually page 81. And it talks about faith. See in the faith, which is in the pineal gland, in the forehead, the third eye, that's the beginning. In other words, we have to have faith for the rest of the 12 powers to start working. So faith opens up all of the glands physically and allows all of the hormones and the different chemicals of the body to excrete to get things done throughout the body. It triggers the heart, it triggers a lot of the adrenal glands, other things. And so faith is really your consent to let your own uniqueness unfold. So you have to have faith in who you are. Everybody there? So, who are you? Well, we looked at it last week that you're a child of God, created in the image and after the likeness of God. So what does that mean? You are a spiritual self. And we're a spiritual self living in a physical body. Now, those two are contradictory because the material world is not the spiritual world, and the material world is created by the ego, if you will. And so we have this dichotomy that goes on all the time. So I'm going to keep reading. Faith is really your consent to let your own uniqueness unfold and to let that which is attracted by your uniqueness manifest in your life. So, anybody agree? We always want to be somebody else, or not always, but we want to be like somebody. In other words, I might see a great speaker and think, wow, I wish I could do that. Okay, or for a while, I'd love to be driving a Porsche. Anybody agree with that one? Now, that's my thing. You have your thing, whatever that is. And we're constantly looking at where we should be, not where we are. So it's a very, very interesting conversation. So it says that which is attracted by your uniqueness. Now, the law of attraction says you attract what you have in consciousness. Now, I'm being very careful about that because there's a difference between thinking and consciousness. Thinking is the thoughts we have. Consciousness is the belief structure that we incorporate into our being. Everybody there? And so it's consciousness that creates our world. So we go on and said, thus, when Jesus said all things are possible to them who believe, he did not say that a swan can become a duck or that a non-musical person can become a concert pianist. Agreed? In other words, I could enjoy a pianist, I could be great at it, and I don't do that. That isn't my skill. So what is my part in the world is to look at what my skill is and develop my skill. Now, as you know, for quite a while, I did corporate training at the corporation, governmental, local government, national government levels. And one of the things we used to teach was list all your faults, list all your skills, and come over here and start working on your weaknesses. Anybody remember that? Why would you work on your weaknesses when you've got all these strengths over here? So it's counterproductive to work on your weaknesses, because the weaknesses are other people out there doing what they do in the place of your weaknesses. So we're here to do our own unique thing and give up the fact that I can't do what Bruce does. I have no interest in being an air conditioning business owner. Okay, so what do I have to? I have to create my own skills and then work with them. Okay, so it goes on and says, okay, you cannot become something that is not the outforming of your own inner potential. So each of us has our own skills, that which we're good at. It's amazing how many times that I'm working with people and the conversations come up, I wish I could be. I wish I could be, or I should be able to do that. Okay, and it's not true. It's absolutely not true. The question is, what are your skills? What is your potential? What are you good at? What in your heart do you like? What are you passionate about? That's what we look at, and that's your potential, and that's your heart speaking to you and saying, go for it. That's what you need to be doing. Now, for years in my own life, because anybody familiar with the word responsibilities? Okay, I was in the corporate world and I spent years in things, doing things that I was probably good at, but it wasn't my passion. Anybody else relate to that? And so we squeeze ourselves into this mold of what should be, and we have, I remember taking preference exams, and you know, what was it, the Cooter preference thing? It said this is what you should do. But that wasn't what was in my heart. So it's interesting that we squeeze ourselves into, and we try to become something that we are not. And then we're upset about it, feeling guilty, and feeling inefficient, and not good enough because we can't do what somebody else can do. And who are we measuring things against? Them. Who's important? Me, you. So it goes on and says, you cannot become something that is not outforming. You can only be you. Everybody there? So you have a divine potential. You have something that nobody else can do. Would you agree? A lot of you have gifts. Some of you are great at organizing. I'm terrible with details. Matter of fact, you start talking details to me, I go blank. Correct? That's why we get along so well, okay? Because I start crawling when you start, you know, somebody starts trying to nail me down. No, I don't want to go there, because that's not my gift. And I've made myself wrong because I'm not good at that. Thank God. So we all have our gifts, and the idea is to focus on our gifts. Okay? And it goes on a little bit more. You can only be you, however, you can unfold more of the you that may have been long frustrated and hidden. So, kingdom of heaven is where? Within. Now, what's interesting is you look at the biblical aspects of this, and it's very interesting. And let me check here. The question is, what are you good at? What excites you? What are you passionate about? At night, when you're falling in bed, what are you excited about? It amazes me, all of the things that people do. Have you ever noticed the things people do? I mean, on weekends, I see people with boats, I see people with trailers and tents, and I see people going fishing. But why do you do what you do? And it's interesting, the recreational things that people do. I have no interest in skiing. We lived in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho for a while, and everybody there snow skied. If you don't know where that is, it's right in the middle of the 4 or 5 of the major snow mountains in that area. And everybody was snow skiing, and I tried. Guess what I'm not good at? I spent more time on my rear end than anywhere else. And I'm clear that I'm not a snow person. But I had to give that up and make it okay. And I finally got to the point where when somebody would ask me, do you ski? I would say no. Without excuses. Now, do you understand? We're driven by what other people think. We are. And so what is your skill? What do you love to do? And so I'm going to ask us to really write that, take a list out, take a piece of paper, and write down, if you want to write your weaknesses, that's fine, but why don't you write what you're good at? And then see, that's where you focus. And are you living in your skills? Now, see, here's the idea. A lot of times we think, well, I don't have an outlet for my skills. Law of attraction says that which you dwell upon, you attract to you. So if you dwell on your skills, what happens? Opportunities start showing up to apply your skills. However, you have to be ready to do that. It's a very, very interesting comment. Matthew 6:24. This is, as you can tell, the pollen's bothering me. Isn't that exciting? See, I shouldn't dwell on it, should I? So anyway, Matthew 6:24. Now this is a famous one. I've had this quoted to me over and over by when I was involved in the, what do we call it? The rabid Christian background. And here it is. No man can serve two masters, for either they will hate one and like the other, or will honor one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Okay, now, God is the metaphor for spiritual life. Everybody there? Mammon is the metaphor for the physical material world. So either we live in the spiritual world or in the material world. Where do our gifts come from? Spirit. That's all it's saying. So it's learning to be in the spiritual world and use our spiritual gifts in what we do. Now, how do we become more spiritual? We become more spiritual by being spirit. So it's a very, it's fascinating. And if you really start pulling apart what Jesus says, it gets fascinating to me. And if you go down to verse 25, it says, "For this reason I say to you, do not worry for your life." Don't worry about what you're going to eat. Don't worry about what you're going to put on. Because when you're dwelling in your skills, when you're dwelling in your gifts, when you're dwelling in the spiritual life, things work. Now, the irony is it's a spontaneous thing that occurs. If you want to equate it to the material world, you could, I don't know why I'm going here, but even parking spots show up at appropriate times. Things happen for your highest and best good. And the only way to do that is to do it. I was watching, I flip TV. Anybody here a surfer? I surf TV. So I come up with some fascinating places. And I landed on Ancient Aliens, where they were talking about the Akashic Records. Anybody familiar with those things? Yeah. It's a metaphor for the Akashic Records are theoretically a record of everything that's ever happened throughout history, every thought you've thought, every activity you've had, that are stored like in a cloud somewhere in the ethereal world. Okay? Now, that connotes to me energy we call God, where everything's stored. And the only way we can access that energy is to learn to slow down and become spiritual in our awareness. There's conversations about Einstein. Anybody familiar with how Einstein used to think? Yeah, he would make up stories and actually transmit himself. He would pretend he was out somewhere, and he would make up stories about it. And science is now believing that he connected with the Akashic Records. Hello? Tesla, the greats of history, Galileo. Now they are looking at it from a standpoint of these master geniuses were geniuses because they learned to slow down, look at their spiritual gift, and bring it into the material world. So maybe that's what we're here for, is each one of us has a gift to bring into the material world from the spiritual world. And if we're looking at the material world and what other people are doing, can we access those gifts? No. You see, you can't make, here's an interesting thing. In the spiritual world, things happen spontaneously and they happen for good. In the material world, it's difficult to change the material world, agree? I mean, things that are a problem are always going to be a problem. And that's kind of like a given. One of the biggest issues is, we find in counseling, is people, as I said earlier, people get so focused on what's wrong that they get into a spiral downward, and we're looking at a spiral upward, which occurs in who you really are. So again, we're right back to the faith area of the pineal gland, which transmits energy to the rest of the body. And as far as we know, and I'm going to go woo-woo on you, maybe opens up energy to the Akashic records or the energy of the universe, which is constantly telling us what to do. Anybody ever had an awareness that you know? Yeah, we've been there. And it comes and goes. And we try to bring it back. And then because we can't bring it back, we get upset with ourselves. But the truth is, that's the way it works. It comes in and it goes back out again. And the idea is the more we stay in the silence and the more we stay in the spiritual world, the more that we retrain the neural structure of the brain to access this, I'm going to call it, you ready? Subtle energies. Because there are subtle energies. We have proven it over and over and over again. Anybody here have dreams? I mean, there's a whole process of understanding what dreams mean. And generally, one of the things to understand is a dream, no matter who it's about, is always about us. So there are always communications occurring, and it's up to us to start looking at those communications. If you look at, Jesus keeps saying over and over again, the kingdom of heaven is within. Yes?
Yes.
Kingdom of God is where? Within.
Yeah.
So if I want to access God and the subtle energies of God, I have to do what? Go within. What do people not like to do? Go within. In other words, if you ever noticed it, you said, I was at a banquet Friday night, and I have a tendency to sit at the table and just I'd listen to people. And I had somebody sitting next to me here, and for about 5 minutes, there was no conversation. And I could tell he was getting uncomfortable. Why? Because we had been quiet. And you see, the world cannot handle stillness. But what is the key to life? Stillness. That's why Tuesday night we're doing centering prayer. Friday night we're going to do a prayer group. In the work that B and their group are going to do, they're looking at the spiritual context of things. Now we can look over here at the rah-rah things, which the world wants to do. Anybody agree? What is happening in Miami right now?
Super Bowl.
Huh?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. And there's more noise coming out of there. Even coughing. So if you understand, the world wants noise. The world wants to attract us with flashy, shiny objects. Yes.
These spiritual gifts you talk about, are they just for that person?
They are universal, and yes.
Can you share them?
Yes. See, the reason we have them is to share them with the universe. In other words, the gifts we have are there for us to bring into the world. So they are universal. They are available everywhere. And it's up to us to bring that gift in. Now, my gift is not AC. Your gift is air conditioning. Okay? And your gift, you all have different gifts. And some of it used to bother me that I couldn't do X, Y, Z. I was on the wrestling team in high school and in college. And it really frustrated me. Number one, I was in a weight class that there were too many strong people. I mean, they were bigger now. And so I couldn't do what I thought I should do. But the truth is, I didn't enjoy doing what I was doing, but I was doing it because I was supposed to do it. okay? You all have similar stories. You all have things you've tried to do that you feel guilty that you can't do, and it's okay. Forgive yourself, give it up, and let's start looking at each of our gifts. The church needs gifts. We need gifts. Tommy's soliciting board members. Your creativity on the board. We're going to be building a church. This church is in a growth phase. Valley's recruiting for new prayer chaplains. Thank you. It took me a minute. Okay? And we're looking for people that want to be part of the creation of a new thing. And so some of you have those gifts. But again, see, we deny them, or we hold back, or they don't care, or whatever the story is. And the story is you're a child of God. You have a gift that's meant to be shared. They are all meant to be shared. And yes, somebody else can do it, but you're the one that's brought in here to share your gift. Now, anybody agree we're going into a new world? I mean, the old world has not been working as I see it. And I'll talk about politics right now. So you got to look at facts. We are polarized as a nation right now between left and right, or whatever it is. So what is the new idea? And I'm not going to get there right now, but you have new ideas. The new idea is love. All there is love. All there is integrity and speaking the truth. So how do we bring that in? And that's part of what we're doing. Would you agree? For me, I'm comfortable around you folks because I know you've expressed love. Okay, out there, you have to be careful who you express love to. But the truth is, do you not do it? No. So we're looking at a new way of doing things, and it's your gifts that help that come into being. Even a relationship. If you're in a relationship, what kind of relationship are you in with your neighbor? And I'm just picking an example. And your relationship or friendliness with the neighbor is a model for the consciousness of this group. You understand what I'm saying? Or if there is a negative consciousness there, you're a model for the negative consciousness. So it's actually sharing who you are, who your gifts are. Now, I don't know what your gifts are. Anybody want to share a gift?
Creativity.
Creativity. Taking an idea. See, creation means taking something that hasn't existed before and bringing it into being. Creation also, in the business world over here, is taking an idea and reworking it. But creation is starting over again. Okay, what else?
Helpfulness.
Helpfulness. Yeah. And reaching out and actually in helpfulness, encouragement. Knowing to encourage somebody else and help them do what they want to do, yes.
But like in me, every day when I walk out that door, I say, who can I help today? I don't know who it's going to be, but there'll be somebody in my life for that day that you end up helping.
Do you hear that? Is he speaking from his heart? He is. I mean, he and MJ bugged Madeline and I to go to his furniture place. And we resisted for almost a month. Walked in the door, and 10 minutes later we had a new couch.
And a chair, and something else.
Yeah, we were so well taken care of. Okay? And helpfulness. What are some other gifts? Let's do this, MJ.
Well, I made a cross yesterday for my friend's niece that had passed away and decorated it with flowers and red roses for the funeral, and everybody loved it. They loved it.
Comforting, supportive.
Yeah.
See, those are all human characteristics that we bring into the world. What else? Empathy, yeah. Understanding. Okay, not sympathy, by the way, empathy. So you all have gifts, and those gifts are here to be expressed. It's like I want to go on and on and on, because I want you to know how great you are. I want you to know that the Bible says you're created in the image and after the likeness of the energy that created the universe. Who do you think you are when you say anything less than that? and you reach out and share your gift with another human being. It's like one of my gifts is I share my heart. I really work on being exactly who I am wherever I am. And it's an interesting thing. It's scary sometimes. It really is. And even around home. Am I true to who I am? Which to me is integrity. So how integrous am I? How integrous are you? When we go out in the community, anybody familiar with BS? Inflating things just a little bit? Okay, is that a gift? Yeah. Is it a good gift? No. I'm going to wrap up here. What I have written down is you are here to do something great. And the world has tried to dumb each one of us down. See, if you excel and do better than your neighbor, the only way they can prove that they're good enough is to pull you down to their level. I'm sure you've all heard this story about the crabs in the bucket. And there's a type of crab that when you put them in a bucket, if a crab, and they all try to get out of the bucket, if a crab reaches the edge and is ready to get out of the bucket, the other crabs reach up and pull them back in. And that's really what it's like. And so there's part of us that has to be like the crab that got over the side and didn't get pulled back. Because there is a better life. And it's called a spiritual life. But it takes time, it takes effort, it takes a new way of being in the world, and it takes the willingness to share your gifts. And it takes time. I've had people say, well, I tried it for a week, it didn't work. No, it's got to be a lifestyle. And the lifestyle is prayer and meditation, hanging out with good folks, reading things, being in one of our classes in the Heart Metaphysics on Sunday morning. By the way, how was your class this morning? Did you cover any of this?
Divine paradoxes.
Say it again.
Divine paradoxes.
Okay, you got that one. It's really fascinating. And see, the divine energy is always working, harmonizing. It's fascinating, you know. And that's why you see us coming together doing what we do. And I see a huge group of people from many races, many cultures, many backgrounds. And that's the homogeneous work that we're doing here, which is spiritual work, okay? There's something I want to share, and I'm not sure what it is yet. Let me look. Okay? And I know where it is. It is Matthew 6:33. This is for the Sermon on the Mount. You ready? But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, or his right consciousness. And all these things that you've been looking for are added to you. So, if you want to be a great speaker, if you want to be a great whatever it is, it's within your consciousness. Go for it. We're here to support you and help you. If you have any questions, call us. By the way, we live down the road down there, and we're open. Those of you who attend classes know that we're always open. And we'd love to hear from you, and if anybody would like to spend quiet time with us, we'd love to have that. The main thing is you become who you are. And stop worrying about what other people do. And we're going to stop shoulding all over each other. All we are is children of God doing what we should do. Thank you.